Right now, a dangerous and rapidly developing weather outbreak is unfolding across the United States, and within the next few hours, millions of people could be in the path of severe, life-threatening storms. This is not a routine forecast. The atmosphere is already showing signs of something much more aggressive. Storms are beginning to explode, and the setup we're seeing right now is the same kind that has produced some of the most destructive outbreaks in recent years. If you think this is just another storm system, you need to see what's coming next. 1. The atmosphere is loaded. Right now, the atmosphere over the central United States is not just unstable, it is primed for something far more dangerous. This is the kind of setup meteorologists watch closely because it has all the ingredients needed for a major outbreak. Warm, moisture-rich air is surging northward from the Gulf of Mexico. This air is heavy, humid, and full of energy. At the same time, a powerful system of cold, dry air is pushing in from the west and north. When these two air masses collide, the atmosphere doesn't stay calm. It reacts violently. That boundary between warm and cold air becomes a battleground. Energy builds, pressure drops, and the sky begins to organize itself in a way that signals trouble. What makes this situation especially concerning is how fast this energy is building. It's not gradual, it's happening right now, in real time. Meteorologists often describe this as a loaded atmosphere, meaning everything is in place just waiting for a trigger. And once that trigger hits, storms don't just form, they explode. This is the exact pattern seen in some of the most dangerous severe weather events in recent history, the kind that produces powerful thunderstorms, destructive winds, and potentially strong tornadoes. So what we're looking at is not just another storm system. This is a high-energy environment, already under stress, already building and getting ready to release that energy in a very violent way. And the moment that release begins, conditions on the ground can change in minutes. 2. Instability is sky high. If lesson 1 is about the atmosphere being loaded, then this is about what happens when that energy starts to move. Right now, instability levels across parts of the United States are extremely high, and that's a major warning sign. Instability simply means the air wants to rise, and when air rises fast enough, it creates powerful thunderstorms. But this isn't normal rising air. This is explosive. Warm, humid air near the surface is being forced upward into much colder air above. That temperature difference creates a powerful upward acceleration, like a rocket launching into the sky. And the faster that air rises, the more intense the storm becomes. Clouds grow taller, rain gets heavier, lightning becomes more frequent. And within a very short time, a harmless-looking sky can transform into a severe storm. What makes this situation dangerous is the speed. Storms are not slowly developing over hours. They are rapidly intensifying in minutes. One moment you have building clouds, the next you have a fully developed thunderstorm capable of producing large hail, damaging winds and dangerous lightning. This kind of rapid development leaves very little time to react. And when instability reaches these levels, storms don't just grow, they compete, merge, and evolve into larger, more organized systems. That's when isolated storms can turn into widespread severe weather events. So while the atmosphere may already be loaded, instability is what pulls the trigger. It takes that stored energy and converts it into real, visible, and dangerous storms. And once that process begins, it becomes very difficult to stop. 3. Tornado risk is increasing. This is the point where the situation can quickly turn from dangerous to life-threatening. Because now, we're not just talking about storms, we're talking about the potential for tornadoes. As this system continues to develop, winds at different levels of the atmosphere are moving in different directions and at different speeds. This creates what meteorologists call wind shear, and wind shear is one of the key ingredients for tornado formation. Near the surface, winds may be moving in one direction, but just a few thousand feet above, those winds shift and accelerate. This creates a twisting motion in the atmosphere. Now combine that rotation with the powerful updrafts we talked about earlier. As air rises rapidly inside a storm, it can begin to tilt that horizontal spin into a vertical rotation. That's how a storm starts to organize into a rotating system known as a supercell. And once a supercell forms, the risk level changes completely. These are the storms capable of producing the strongest and most destructive tornadoes. What makes this even more concerning is how subtle the early signs can be. From the ground, it may just look like a darkening sky, maybe some distant thunder. But inside the storm, rotation could already be developing. And when conditions are this favorable, tornadoes can form quickly, sometimes with very little warning. Some may be brief, others can stay on the ground for miles, causing significant damage in their path. This is why meteorologists take setups like this very seriously, because once rotation begins inside a storm, the situation becomes unpredictable. And at that point, it's no longer just about watching the weather. It's about staying ahead of something that can change direction, intensity, and impact in a matter of minutes. 4. Storms are training. Not all severe weather is loud, dramatic, or easy to see coming. Some of the most dangerous impacts happen quietly, and this is one of them. Right now, in certain areas, storms are beginning to move over the same locations again and again. This is known as training. Instead of storms passing through once and moving on, they follow the same path repeatedly, like train cars moving along a track. And every time a new storm passes over the same area, it adds more rain. At first, it may not seem like a major issue, just steady rainfall, maybe some heavier bursts. But over time, that water begins to build up. The ground becomes saturated, drainage systems get overwhelmed, small creeks and streams start to rise. Then suddenly, what seemed manageable becomes dangerous. Roads begin to flood. Water starts covering low-lying areas, and in some cases flash flooding can develop in a very short amount of time. What makes this especially dangerous is how quickly it can escalate. You don't need hours of heavy rain. Just a series of storms hitting the same area repeatedly can be enough to trigger serious flooding. And unlike tornadoes or high winds, flooding doesn't always come with obvious warning signs. It can happen in the dark. It can happen while people are indoors, and once water starts rising, it becomes very difficult to escape. This is why training storms are often called a hidden threat. They don't look as intense on the surface, but their impact can be just as destructive. Because when water has nowhere to go, it takes over everything in its path. 5. Damaging winds spread wide. Even if a tornado never forms, that does not mean you're safe. Because one of the most widespread and destructive threats in this situation is straight-line wind. And right now, conditions are becoming favorable for those winds to intensify across a large area. As storms grow stronger and begin to organize, they can push powerful bursts of air down toward the ground. When that air hits the surface, it spreads outward rapidly, and that's where the damage begins. These winds can easily exceed 60 to 70 miles per hour, strong enough to knock down trees, tear off roofs, flip vehicles, and leave entire neighborhoods without power. What makes this threat so dangerous is how far it can reach. Unlike tornadoes, which follow a narrow path, damaging winds can impact entire regions at once. Multiple cities, multiple states, all feeling the effects at the same time. And in many cases, these winds arrive suddenly. You may hear a rush of sound, see trees begin to sway, and within seconds, conditions turn violent. Debris becomes airborne, visibility drops, and it becomes dangerous to even be outside. Another concern is that these winds often come in lines of storms, known as squall lines. That means the damage isn't isolated, it's continuous, a long moving wall of intense weather sweeping across the landscape. So while tornadoes may grab the headlines, straight-line winds are often responsible for a much larger area of destruction, and right now, that threat is spreading fast. 6. Multiple weather systems colliding. This is where the situation becomes even more complex and far more dangerous. Because what we're dealing with right now is not just a single type of weather event. This is a massive multi-layered system affecting different parts of the country in completely different ways, all at the same time. In the southern and central regions, conditions are primed for severe thunderstorms, damaging winds and possible tornadoes. But as you move farther north, the environment changes dramatically. Temperatures drop, the air becomes colder and denser, and instead of rain and thunderstorms, you begin to see snow and in some cases blizzard conditions. So within the same system, you have two extremes happening simultaneously. Violent storms on one side, heavy snow and dangerous travel conditions on the other. And what connects all of this is the powerful contrast in temperature. Warm air surging northward, cold air pushing southward. That sharp boundary between them is what fuels the entire system. It strengthens the storms, it intensifies the winds, and it keeps the system active for longer periods of time. This is not a localized event. This is a large-scale atmospheric engine stretching across multiple states, impacting millions of people in very different ways. And that creates another layer of risk. Because while one region may be preparing for tornadoes, another is dealing with near-zero visibility, icy roads and rapidly falling temperatures. Emergency responses become stretched, travel becomes dangerous across wide areas, and the overall impact multiplies. What makes this especially concerning is how these different weather zones can shift. The line between rain and snow can move, storm zones can expand, and areas that were relatively quiet just hours earlier can suddenly find themselves in the middle of severe conditions. This kind of setup is unpredictable, and it demands attention across the entire system, not just one region. Because when multiple types of extreme weather are happening at once, the risks don't just add up, they compound, and that's exactly what we're seeing develop right now. A powerful, dynamic system colliding with itself and creating widespread impacts that go far beyond a single storm. 7. Timing is everything. Everything we've talked about so far, the unstable atmosphere, the explosive storm growth, the tornado potential, the flooding, the widespread winds, and the collision of multiple weather systems, all of it leads to this one critical factor, timing. Because in severe weather situations like this, timing is what determines how dangerous it becomes. And right now, the timing is lining up in a way that raises serious concern. Storms are expected to intensify during the late afternoon and evening hours. That's when the atmosphere is at its most unstable. That's when the energy we talked about earlier reaches its peak. And that's when storms have the highest chance of becoming severe. But it doesn't stop there. As we move into the night, another risk begins to increase. Nocturnal storms. Storms that continue after sunset. Storms that don't weaken, but instead maintain their strength, or even grow stronger in the dark. And this is where the danger multiplies. Because at night, visibility drops. People are indoors, most are asleep, and warnings become easier to miss. A tornado during the day is dangerous. A tornado at night is far more deadly. You can't see it coming. You rely entirely on alerts, warnings, and seconds of reaction time. And if those seconds are lost, the consequences can be severe. What also makes timing so critical is how fast everything can change. A quiet evening can turn into a severe weather emergency in less than an hour. Radar can light up quickly. Storms can organize rapidly, and what looked like a low threat can suddenly escalate into a high-impact event. This is not a slow-moving situation. This is dynamic, unpredictable, and constantly evolving. Another key factor is how different regions experience the timing differently. Some areas may see storms earlier in the day. Others may not be impacted until late at night or even early morning. That staggered timing means this isn't a one-time event. It's a prolonged period of risk. Wave after wave of storms, each one with the potential to produce damaging conditions, and that creates fatigue. People let their guard down. They assume the worst has already passed. But in setups like this, the second or third round of storms can be just as dangerous, if not more. This is why meteorologists emphasize staying alert for the entire duration of the event, not just the beginning, not just the peak, but all the way through. Because the atmosphere doesn't follow a schedule, it doesn't wait for convenience, it releases its energy when conditions are right. And right now, those conditions are coming together, hour by hour, minute by minute. So what does this mean for you? It means awareness is critical. It means paying attention to updates. It means having a plan before warnings are issued, not after. Because once severe weather begins, reaction time becomes limited, decisions have to be made quickly, and preparation is what makes the difference. This is the stage of the event where everything becomes real, where forecasts turn into impacts, where potential turns into action, and where seconds truly matter. Because when storms reach this level, timing isn't just important, it's everything. This is a dangerous and evolving situation, and what we're seeing right now has the potential to change very quickly. If you are in any of the impacted areas, stay alert, monitor updates, and take every warning seriously. Moments like this are unpredictable, and when storms reach this level, seconds can make all the difference. Make sure you're subscribed for real-time updates, because we'll continue tracking this every step of the way. Stay safe and stay ahead of the storm.